Building a business when you've never built a business for the first time ever, it's challenging. Invest in yourself right away, and that's what we did.
Welcome to The Hard Truth, here with Brandon Town of Milltown Property Group at eXp Realty. We are going to talk about growing your real estate business, your career, different investments, international investments.
This business is not easy. It's going to take you 3 to 4 years to really get that engine going. I think a lot of real estate agents, they try and overcomplicate it. It's very simple. Within a year of being in the business, we launched an independent brokerage. My first real estate investment was an up and down duplex, still cash flows today, which is great. Second building was actually this building that we're sitting in here, a big commercial building. Did a full renovation on the entire thing, 20 plus units.
You're one of the earliest Canadian people with eXp, is that true?
I was one of the first 500 agents to join eXp in Canada.
Welcome to The Hard Truth, here with Brandon Town of Milltown Property Group at eXp Realty. We are going to talk about growing your real estate business, your career, different investments, international investments, and how you can grow your real estate business as a realtor and have a great, successful career. So make sure to check it out. All right, Brandon, let's just dive into it. I like to start with, where'd you come from? Why real estate? Some of your investment experience in real estate, but take us back. What got you into real estate? What did you do in your previous life? Tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I really appreciate you having me on today. I'm excited to be here and share my wisdom, if any, to the audience. So where did I come from? I grew up in a small town called Listowel, Ontario. It's about 40 minutes northwest of Kitchener-Waterloo. Graduated from college, and my first job out of college was at a M&E shops. Their head office right here in Kitchener. And I was one of their corporate field trainers is what they called me. And so what I did is I traveled all over Canada. I did their new store setup. I trained their franchisees. I trained their staff. We did a blowout grand opening at all the new locations. Then I went home. And I did that rinse and repeat over and over again. And it was such an incredible first real corporate job. I got a ton of experience in the business side of things. I got a ton of experience with people. I got a ton of experience with training, mentorship, right? Training all the new staff and the franchisees on how to run their businesses and so forth. So I got a ton of experience at a pretty young age. I did that from 21-ish to 24, 25. So for 4 full years till I kind of got a little bit exhausted with traveling all over the place. We even made a run in the US. I was in the US quite a bit too.
Cool.
Yeah, until I'm like, I don't think I can do this role anymore.
Opening up a new business every month?
Yeah, sometimes 2 a month.
Right.
Sometimes 2.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah, on the road, living out of a suitcase, literally out of a hotel for 2 weeks at a time minimum. Sometimes if we did 2 a month, so the whole month, right out of a suitcase. But again, too, I was very fortunate to get that job. I learned a ton, and I took a lot of those attributes and skills that I developed over those 4 years and took them into, the next stage of my life and into real estate as well too. But from there I went to, I did a short stint actually at Bruce Power, a nuclear power plant in between Kincardine and Port Elgin. I worked up there. It was a cool experience. A lot of my pals work up there. They have an incredible living. They have an incredible lifestyle, but that style of working just wasn't for me, which led me to, thankfully, into real estate. So I had a friend at the time that just said, hey, you're really good with people. I think you'd be good at this business. It wasn't really on my radar, and I went with it. It took me a long time to get my license. I kind of took it slowly. I did some serving. Again, just didn't know exactly what I wanted, but it truly led me into real estate, and I'm very grateful because this business is incredible. What I really love about real estate is you can literally build any type of business you want within this industry that works for your lifestyle. There's no right or wrong answer. I believe there's better ways to do things than other ways, but I think that you can build whatever business suits your lifestyle, and that's what's super cool about real estate.
I love that. I mentioned a little bit in the intro about this. Brandon is a very successful realtor, and you're not as big on, some of our guests are more on the investment side. You're one of the more successful real estate realtor business owners that we've had on. So you're going to offer a little bit different perspective than a lot of people. I also find it funny, guys I've known for a long time, when I do this and I find out something about their past that I didn't know, and I'm like, this M&M job,
Yeah.
like I see that in ways you do things, like very like a franchise regimented like process. When I find out about their past, I'm like, oh, I see that in you today. So that's
Yeah, M&M meat shops, man.
shout out to Matt Boysen, golf tournament at White Squirrel every year. Steve Aho and I play in it all the time. So
Love Mac. Knew him very well at my time there, and he was such an incredible asset to the company. Founded it, and obviously, just great human being.
yeah, absolutely, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. So you got into real estate. When did you get licensed? When?
2013.
Okay.
In March of 2013.
Okay, so tell us a little about your real estate career as a realtor, and when you did maybe start dabbling into the investment side as well.
Sure. Yeah. So getting into real estate, joined a small team again with the friend that I had mentioned earlier. Joined a traditional brokerage to begin with, one of the big box ones I would call it, and we had no idea what we were doing. So I would still go to the office every day. I would sit there, but we had no structure. We truly were just like, what are we doing? We have no idea. We quickly decided that we needed to hire a coach. So within the first 6 months, we hired a coach collectively. And for anybody who's watching, anybody who's getting into a business, I highly recommend either finding a really high-level mentor that is going to be able to give you enough time, or go out and hire, do your homework, hire a really good coach. Invest in yourself right away, and that's what we did. As soon as we did that, we knew what we were doing. We knew what our systems, our processes looked like every single day. We had structure to our day, our week, our goal setting. And we made a decision to leave that big box brokerage probably within a year of being in the business, and we launched an independent brokerage. So we're like, you know what? We believe that we can create all these assets. We can build this from the ground up, and we don't need the brokerage side of things to assist us with doing it and pay heavy splits and so forth. So we launched an independent brokerage. I helped build that with my business partners for, I would say, about 5 years. And we had a really, really cool experience building that. We learned a lot about business. We certainly failed a lot. Again, too, right? Like building a business when you've never built a business for the first time ever, whether it's real estate or something else, it's challenging. You've never done it before. Now, if I went to another industry right now and tried to build a business, I would understand the fundamentals behind it, and I would have a much easier time doing it with marketing and so forth. But for the first time building a business, it was challenging. So that's what we did. Yeah, we built that.
And that was, so you, like you said, big box realtor, the big box brokerage, and then you went fully independent. So there was no known flag on top. It was an independent
brokerage. You got it.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so you did that for 5 years.
Yeah. And so what I learned quickly is that I think a lot of real estate agents out there, they try and overcomplicate it. It's very simple. Your daily activities as a new realtor, or even an established realtor for that matter, your daily activities should be quite simple. Now, they're going to change as you progress in your business and you sell more homes and you grow your book of business and so forth. But it should come down to, a very much rigid daily structure, which would be prospecting, setting appointments, going on appointments, and writing contracts. That's really it. Now, when I started in the business, social media was not even close or near what it is today. Obviously, that stuff's very important, but if you put the shiny object to the side and you just focus on making your calls every day, making those contacts that you need to align with the goals that you have, setting the appointments, going on the amount of appointments you need to go on daily, weekly, monthly, signing enough contracts, and inevitably writing enough contracts as well too, you're going to succeed in this business. So I think that most people overcomplicate it, and when you can really just simplify it, if that makes sense.
It aligns with what you said. If you went into another business, a lot of the things overlap. I've been in the insurance industry. I've been in the mortgage business. I used to sell TVs at Future Shop, and all of it was the same. The top, even going all the way back to Future Shop, the guys who made more money were the ones who prospected outside of waiting for someone to come in the store.
Correct.
We were the ones who were building a database, getting their phone numbers, calling our friends, calling our family who wants to come buy a TV. So the principles are the same regardless of the business. And I love what you said, simplify it. And we're also talking about social media. Social media is just really another form of prospecting to fill the tunnel. So people are calling you versus you calling them.
Yeah.
It still is part of the prospecting.
Yeah, it's brand awareness as well too. So if you, especially when you're calling strangers, as an example, you have a good conversation, they still don't know you, they haven't met you, but they trust you enough to maybe set an appointment. But what are they going to do? They're going to turn around before that appointment, and they're probably going to go look you up on Google, social media, and they're going to do some more research. So that stuff's incredibly important, don't get me wrong, but really, again, it comes down to the basic fundamentals of your day-to-day.
Cool. So when did you, I guess, tell me a little bit more about your journey. Were you in that 5 years at the independent brokerage? Did you do any investing yet?
Yeah. So during that period, I had not done any investing yet, to be honest with you. I was really putting every cent back into myself and my business at that time.
And I just want to highlight that because it's something that we're talking more and more about. When I got involved in real estate, it was the heyday of investing where everyone was just OPM everywhere trying to buy real estate. But I really like the approach that you took where you invested in yourself, the business, and the revenue in real estate, started making that money before you started actually doing investments into real estate, which is probably what most people should be doing today.
Right.
That some of that 2020 craziness of borrow all the money and buy real estate is where people are getting into trouble.
Yeah.
And the way you've taken so far in your journey makes sense to me.
Yeah, and I think you could probably do what you just said in certain markets and so forth. But I think in an average market, it would be, I think that's the right approach to take. And it was for me too. And I would call myself like a medium risk guy, not a high risk, not a low risk, but a medium risk guy, right? Super calculated.
Yep.
So it just made sense to get to a certain point in my career before really starting to invest. And when that started happening was after I made a pivot from independent brokerage to the current brokerage that I'm at.
Cool. So I'd like to hear, I want to talk about EXP because that's where we are right now. A lot of you guys know I got my license. I'm with EXP. I'll tell you guys a little bit about why I contacted Brandon when I decided to get involved here. But before we get into the EXP side, talk to us about some of the real estate investments that you've done and why you did them, how they align with your life, what you would do again, what you maybe wouldn't do again, the good, the bad, the ugly. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Sure. So my first real estate investment was an up and down duplex, which I still own. That seemed to be honest, I saw it come out on the market. I'm like, I think that's a good deal. I'm a realtor. The numbers make sense. That looks like a good one. And I think I bought it that day. And so that was my first one, a really nice, solid cash flowing asset, which still cash flows today, which is great, even at our higher interest rates than when I bought that. But that was the first one I bought. I thought it was relatively risk-free. It had 2 units in it, 1 dwelling, 1 mortgage, and everything seemed to really come together on that one really easily.
And you didn't duplex it?
No, it was already that.
Turnkey?
Turnkey. So I bought it turnkey. We did renovations to both kitchens to kind of increase the value and the rent.
Yeah.
So that's what we did before we even actually brought tenants into it and before we listed it on the market, which that was the first time I'd ever done any type of renovation work to an investment property as well too. So I learned a lot there in the process and how quickly contractors can move and the planning around that stuff. So that was kind of neat. And again, too, very stress-free. It all came together nicely. So that was my first investment. And to be honest, I would definitely do that again and again and again.
I just want to highlight the message here because this has been lost over the last couple of years. There's nothing wrong with having a great career that you earn an income from, buying a simple investment property, fixing it up a little bit, renting it out, and leaving it alone. You don't there's so much emphasis on, you got to burn it again and pull your money out and flip it and turn it over and go bigger. And this is just a great simple story of buy a nice property, the numbers work, you have a great career, you're making good money, let the investment sit there, and 7-8 years later, it's still cash flowing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that message gets missed sometimes in today's world, and I just want to take a second and highlight that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So that was my first investment. Second building, it was actually this building that we're sitting in here, which is a big commercial building that I collectively purchased with five other individuals.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And that was to operate the real estate business out of?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So with the mindset of, hey, we're gonna want a space to house our teams, and we're gonna want a space to grow, and we're gonna want a space for future growth of bringing agents to EXP. And oddly enough, you know what, we're a cloud-based brokerage, but there's still a lot of realtors that want space. They want that connection. They want that community. And we saw an opportunity for that. And so we bought this building. We did a full renovation on the entire thing. Broke it down so we could fit, I think there's 20 plus units in this building. For future growth too, with knowing where our company was going, but also knowing that we were going to be in the asset too, which is great, right? When you're managing an asset, when you own an asset, but you're also utilizing it and you have your business in here too. It's a really nice way to kind of watch one of your investments grow, literally. Yeah.
And we're getting into the EXP conversation, but the one thing you talked about before we went on air here is you've done one international investment,
Yeah.
the Tulum condo house.
Yeah.
I don't think we've talked a lot about, I don't think I've had anyone here who's bought something in Mexico. So
Yeah.
what was your experience? What did you do? Pros, cons, good, bad, ugly, advice?
Yeah, so I wanted, the next investment that I personally wanted to buy was something that I would, a fun one. We'll call it a fun investment.
Okay.
Most investments, in my opinion, should be about the numbers and the math and so forth. That's why it's called an investment. And you want it to do well, but I wanted a fun one, and I wanted to buy it international. I wanted a place where I could have something in the future for the cold months of the year, where I could take my family for a couple weeks. We could own it. We could call it ours, but also in the meantime, on the flip side of it, rent it out, short-term rental for the remainder of the year. So I knew a real estate agent from our brokerage that had actually just moved his family down to Mexico and was doing a lot of, he'd actually started his team down there. He's he was a very great real estate agent here. He sold his assets, he moved down there, and he really strongly believed in specifically the Tulum market because of the future opportunity of Tulum and what they were doing, and I'll explain that. There was a lot of growth happening in Tulum. They had just they were just about to open their first airport there with direct flights right out of Toronto. So I said, that's got to be a pretty good factor in that. Yep. And they were really
when big companies are investing in dropping people in a location,
Yeah.
I would say that's a good indicator. Yeah.
And it was, I'd gone down, I'd visited Tulum. They were certainly very much in their early stages of building new infrastructure within the city. It wasn't pretty in terms of the roads are still pretty crappy, but they had a really, really solid 5-10 year plan for growth within Tulum. And so just like when I joined EXP as an example, which I would consider very early, I bought in Tulum what I consider very early. So that, in my opinion, is a good investment. That investment, as I've looked at it today, bought just over 2 years ago. I haven't even taken possession yet, which should be soon, but has gone up significantly already in value.
So you call it a fun investment.
Yeah.
When people talk to me about cottages all the time, should I buy a cottage as an investment?
Right.
And my answer is always one of two things. As an investment, the cottage isn't the best in the world, but as a lifestyle investment, it is. If you want to buy a cottage, use it a couple weeks a year, rent it out to pay the bills, is it the best investment you can make? Maybe not, but is it good for your lifestyle? It is, and it sounds like you kind of have the lifestyle component in this investment, and the numbers have actually worked out pretty well for you.
Yeah. From what we're projecting and stuff, specific on that one, it's gonna cash flows quite nicely every year, while still being able to visit it, probably 2, 3, 4 weeks a year.
And anything people should know or think about, or like a red flag or just a heads up for buying international? Like if someone's buying in Mexico, what didn't you know that you wish somebody told you?
Yeah, so we're to be honest, we're still kind of sorting out a few of the things, but we're going to be setting up a separate corporation down there right in Mexico. That's going to be a holding company for that specific unit. That's going to be happening pretty soon as we get closer to closing on it and taking possession. So I think that to be honest, like here and like investing, you want to hire somebody that really knows how to do that down there, which I did. I could have maybe gone and done more things on my own. Absolutely, like I could, but I'm like, you know what? Matt's the expert. That's my real estate agent down there, Matt Ashby. He's the expert. He knows the Mexico market and Tulum market inside and out. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's done this 100 times. So I just let him do everything on our behalf, and he did an excellent job. Beyond that, that would be my recommendation: finding an expert, doing your homework, and making sure that you're safe. You know, we had to hire lawyers to make sure that the contracts were done right.
Espanol?
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna hopefully learn some Spanish here pretty soon.
After Cerveza, that's all I got. That's everything I got.
But yeah, that's and as far as investments right now, that's it. I'm certainly looking into some other stuff, you know, specifically with you too, and what you're doing with some of your companies is incredible. But really looking forward to understanding that side of the business more.
Cool.
Yeah.
Love it. So I want to chat EXP here.
Sure.
I mentioned before, I got my real estate license. Not everyone knows that. I'm not an active realtor, but I always said I wouldn't be a realtor. I'm everything but a realtor. But the EXP business model is really what attracted it to me.
Yep.
And connecting with you and Micah and everyone else about the collective really attracted me to EXP. So you're one of the, as far as I'm concerned, one of the like earliest Canadian people with EXP. Is that true?
Yeah, I was one of the, I would say, first 500 agents to join EXP in Canada. That's what I remember anyways. And there's about 7,000 now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us about your journey with EXP. Your journey, what people should know now if somebody's thinking about making the switch.
Sure. So I'd mentioned earlier that I'd built an independent brokerage with a couple of business partners. We put a lot of work and effort into building that independent brokerage, right? We thought we knew what we knew was, and doing what we were doing the right way, the right order. But the reality of it behind the curtain, like a lot of businesses, we're still struggling, right? We're sure we were all selling homes individually at a high rate, and there's really good money in production, and I continue to sell real estate, and it's a great living. But the business side of things is very challenging. That we had set it up kind of like as a team kind of structure within the independent brokerage. And long story short, you know, you have to charge fairly hefty splits to make the margins work. We had a high churn rate. Then the math stopped making sense for me and most agents on the team in terms of splits. And so, you know, without getting into too much, I'd kind of pitch some ideas to my business partners of changing the model, or, you know, going to a brokerage like EXP that made more sense long term. That didn't work. So inevitably, I eventually made the move. But it's a very cool story, and I want to share it with you. So I talk about events. I go to a lot of events. I really believe in them if you're intentional with them. So I went to an event in 2019 when I was really feeling the pressure from our business, and I really wanted to make a change. And I was actually gifted a ticket and a flight by my really good friend now, Dustin Black. And he flew me down to Dallas, and we went to this event, and he was one of the speakers on stage, because that's why he had a few tickets to give away. And I had met him at a previous event, but I go to this event, and a gentleman gets on stage. His name's Sean Whalen, and he starts talking about personal brand and building your own legacy. And I was like, oh, that really resonates with me. And this is the first speaker of the whole event. Right after that, my guy Dustin comes up, and he starts speaking about community and giving back to the community. He's built this incredible business. It's called Black Tie Moving. It's an Inc. 500 company in the US. And that's how he's really built his businesses over the years, is just giving back and just giving, and then good things happen. And so these two speakers come up, I have this literally aha moment. I'm like, I have to go home and make the change. I'm doing it. I decided in that moment I was doing it, and nobody was going to hold me back. So there was a lot of moving parts in between that, but I went home and I made the move, and that was officially joining EXP June 5th, 2019. And
Could you be more specific on the date?
Yeah. What it happens is that on that note is I just wanted to share that story of how I came to it, because I looked at the model over and over and over again, and it solved every problem that I was experiencing as a business owner and in a production agent. It solved everything, right? So I didn't believe the value was there for the split I was providing anymore. They had a really low cap. The cap is how much you pay per year to the company. I was recruiting people to the business, and even though I had ownership in it, there wasn't a lot of meat left on the table from that to share any of that. And EXP has this revenue share model where if you recruit people and they recruit people and so forth. So I was recruiting directly and indirectly at my brokerage. It wasn't really making sense. And they had this rev share model that I'm like, holy crap, is that even true? It is. Right. And then they had other bonus stuff like, a lot of really good tech, and then stock options as well, too. So they awarded you stock. They for 4 different ways you can be awarded stock at EXP. And so I'm just like, okay, so worst case scenario, I go to EXP and I sell a lot of homes at a low cap and I make a great living. That's worst case scenario. I'm like, that's a pretty good worst case scenario. So that's my medium risk that I was talking about earlier, right? So I said, that's pretty good risk. I can take that. And so I joined. And, if you want to chat about kind of what we've done over the 7 years now that I've been there, it really has changed my life. But I owe that back to that specific event for that decision. But I've been to so many different events over the years, and I can pinpoint some of the biggest pivotal moments in my personal and business life from all these big events that I've gone to. And big decisions happen at big events. That's a quote from one of my mentors, Jay Kinder. And he could not be more right? So put yourself in rooms that make you uncomfortable. Surround yourself with people that are doing 10, 100x what you're doing. And what I found out pretty quick is a lot of these guys and girls, they're just like me, but their careers are here. And so I just started pretending like I was basically glue, getting close to all these people doing big things, and these amazing things started happening in my life everywhere. So I highly recommend going to events at all times, and then I continue to invest in them. I go to as many as I can, even when there's times that even probably my wife's like, do you really need to go to that event? And I'm like, probably, right? So I don't know who I'm going to meet. I don't know what I'm going to hear. I don't know how it's going to change my life, but there's a good chance that it will.
I can think of multiple times where I went to on the Thursday night, packing up to go to the event, and I'm thinking about all the things I have going on. And like, do I really need, maybe I shouldn't go this weekend. Maybe I should just postpone and do this other thing.
Yeah.
Work on all the busy work in my business that I need to do. And I can, like you, almost every time on the Sunday night, I wouldn't have met this person. I wouldn't have met that person. That one little nugget from that one speaker, just saved me all of that busy work that I was doing. So
it happens all the time.
It's so important.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you've had some cool experiences like that too.
So what would you, so I want to share one other thing here, because this is something I've talked to you about a few times, but I think it's a message to give to anyone who's a business owner in any industry. When I made the decision to join with EXP and come, I reached out to Brandon, and Brandon and I really didn't know each other very well. We knew of each other, but and I knew several EXP agents, several people that I could have reached out to. The main reason why I reached out to Brandon is my wife, Chelsea, who a lot of the viewers know, was a home stager. And she used to home stage for the independent brokerage you guys worked for. And in Chelsea's experience, she was not treated very well by a lot of realtors as a home stager. She was considered like a low rung, and a lot of people didn't treat her very well as a home stager. she always talked about so highly about how Brandon and Greg and all the guys always treated her as a home stager, which is the main reason why I reached out. Not that I'm a rock star recruit, but I think I brought in pretty good value. So the message I just want to share is in your business, you never know who you're treating and how you're treating them is going to impact you later. And that's just something I've shared with you guys a few times. Wanted to share with the audience. Like, you never know. Like, is it the landscaper outside, the home stager, whatever it is? Make sure you're caring and treating everyone really well, because you never know how that impacts.
Yeah, for sure. Not that you shouldn't treat everybody well and with respect, but you never know who that person is, what they're doing. But yeah, I love that. It was really refreshing to hear that Chelsea had said that. So that was nice. And we're really glad that you joined with us at EXP and partner with us.
Love it.
Yeah.
And I guess the one other point I want to share is, while you were talking, this popped in my mind. Because when I became the model with EXP, because I had built it out on the mortgage side already, I understood the economics of a team. I understood the economics of owning the brokerage. And when I saw the Realtor model for EXP, I was like, this solves all the problems I have on the mortgage side. So if I'm going to start on the real estate side, I'm not doing that whole independent thing again. That's a nightmare and a headache, and it's not that profitable as the business owner, where this solves a lot of that. So
yeah, I think in real estate, anyways, from my experience, what I've seen is there's a lot of different progressions within the business. You're a new agent, then you start selling some homes, then you become a top producer, then it's like, what do I do next? Do I start a team? Do I start my own independent brokerage? I think that if I can be really honest, I wish this model existed when I got into real estate. It would have just been, we would have been light years ahead, and it would have been so much easier just to build it right on this platform from day one. Would we have learned a lot of the things and the failures that we had? No, but I wish it existed. So for anybody getting into the business or that's in the business, it really does just allow you to build whatever business you want. And it's just a platform, and that's all it is.
Love it. Love it. So we're going to get into the hard truths here. Okay. And I'm going to do the hard truth for you a little bit different, because typically we ask on the investment side, but I want to ask on the realtor side, because that's where you've done so much on that side. What is the hard truth for a brand new realtor, somebody who's brand new to the business? What is the hard truth that they need to know?
Brand new agent joining the business. Great question, actually. Not a good question. Great question. Straight up, this business is not easy, but it's very, very rewarding, and it rewards really hard work. If you have the structure in place, if you have your systems set up, and if you do the daily activities in which you need to do every single day. You come in on Sunday, you do your Sunday planning, you plan your Monday to Friday, you keep weekends available for showings, for open houses, whatever that's going to be, writing contracts. But your Monday to Friday should look exactly the same almost every single week, with some wiggle room to move a few things around. And I said, move them around, don't take them out, move them around. But it's very rewarding, but it's very hard business. And I would say it takes 3 to 4 years if you don't have a tech background or you don't come from another sales industry. Even if you do, it still might, but it's going to take you 3 to 4 years to really get that engine going and have your business running like a well-oiled machine. But you need to put in the work, and it does not come easy. That's the hard truth.
And it's the reality of everything. People get so into the, I sold my house, I saw what the realtor paid, I'm going to become a realtor. Look at how easy that was. Well, we know there's so much more to it than that. So people need to come in with the right intention. And anyone I know is successful in the real estate business all talks about the hard work that it takes. So I want to give you the second level of the hard truth. If you're talking to somebody who's experienced in real estate, they've been around for maybe 5 years, a producer. They're doing some business, but they're struggling. They're feeling plateaued. They can't get to the next level. They don't even know what the next level is. What's the hard truth for that person? What do they need to know?
Well, they probably don't know what they don't know. That's the hard truth. And so if I was in that position, which I have been before, you need to go to either your coach, or find somebody, a coach or a strategist, and you need to literally go off site and you need to conduct a business strategy session at a very high level on your business. You do a full autopsy of it all, and then figure out where you want to go and then how you're going to do it. I'm very fortunate enough where my coach, John Kitchens, does that at a very high level. So anytime I've been stuck in my business, and it's happened many, many times over the years, I say, John, it's time. We need to do another dive deep on another strategy session. And that's the hard truth. So if you're really plateaued and you want to take your business to the next level, you need help. You can't figure this out all on your own. You can try. But I mean, if somebody's plateaued and they can't figure it out, you probably need some help. So ask for help. If I can say one more thing is, I have always been very open to asking other people for help. And so I believe that I believe there's a lot of people out there with a good heart and they want to help you. So go ask them for help. But remember, it goes both ways. So give back to the community, give back to other people as well too.
I love it. Huge value, great insight. I really appreciate that. It's never, whenever we're talking EXP, it's never a sales pitch, but anyone who watches this, who's a realtor thinking about getting into the real estate business and wants to talk about it, reach out to me. The first guy I'm probably going to get involved in that meeting is Towner here. Making sure that he's involved, because he's been a huge value for me in my business and getting started with the XP. So I want to make sure we do that. Thanks again, Brandon, so much for coming on. Amazing insight here. And make sure you guys like, subscribe, all the stuff Peter makes me do for the next video.